And gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world.
The beginning of round 9 and round 8 over 16,500.
Are you ready? What?
Are indeed high with Gervonta "Tank" Davis daring to be great.
Right now, Jake Paul's kind of measuring his man.
Experience. This is Pedraza.
Sharp counter from the problem child. Now it is Jake Paul who is focusing more on the boxing instead of looking.
And it appears Davis' confidence is growing by the second.
And Pedraza's not doing some of the fundamental things that could, nice.
Oh, Pedraza.
Down there, but that one won the best. To talk about this, but because of Pedraza's...
Yeah, Davis landing some sharp shots.
Davis tags the body with the right. That left hook was...
Oh, that overhand right is coming from Jake Paul.
For his professional fights.
Just with an eruption here.
The beginning of round 9 and round 8 over 16,500 were on their feet as they watched Davis. And this fight is over!
He is the winner by way of technical knockout. He is still undefeated, now a 3-division world champion and the new WBA super lightweight champion of the world, Gervonta Davis.
On Netflix, to those of you joining us right here in Texas, are you ready to make history? Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out of the blue corner, silver and chrome trunks. He stands 6 feet 1 inch tall. He weighed in at 227.2 pounds. He holds a near perfect professional record of 10 victories, 1 defeat, with 7 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And he fought by way of Cleveland, Ohio, USA. He is the multi-talented superstar who bridged the gap between social media and professional boxing. Boxer, a content creator, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and a promoter, and the self-proclaimed of boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the problem child, Jake El Gallo Paul.
And gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Atlanta, Georgia, it's showtime! Introducing to you first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the blue corner tonight, seeking his 3rd division world title. Wearing white trunks with yellow and silver trim, the young star of boxing from Baltimore and representing his adopted home of Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at 139 3/4 pounds with a sensational record of 24 wins, no losses. He has 23 big wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the popular and acclaimed 3-time 2-division world champion, the hard-hitting, current and undefeated WBA super featherweight and WBA lightweight champion of the world, introducing Gervonta Davis.
Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis fight in 2025 was absolute madness. The kind of viral spectacle that breaks the internet and dominates pay-per-view numbers. The YouTube superstar turned global sensation stood face to face with the undefeated knockout artist, and the atmosphere was pure electricity. Was this the night Jake Paul shocked the world with an impossible victory? Or the moment Davis brutally humbled him under the brightest lights? On paper, the matchup felt unreal. An internet icon walking around at 200 pounds versus a lightweight legend who carved his legacy at 135. The weight gap sparked outrage, forcing regulators in Atlanta to block the deal. But boxing isn't about logic. It thrives on controversy, chaos, and money-making drama. That's why Miami's CASSA Center became the stage for a fight that redefined modern combat sports. What unfolded wasn't just boxing. It was entertainment history, packed with knockouts, highlights, and unforgettable unforgettable moments fans will stream forever. It was billed as the ultimate mismatch, yet transformed into a blockbuster spectacle that dominated global sports streaming. Netflix capitalized instantly, marketing the fight as the Super Bowl of pay-per-view combat. The strategy exploded. Millions of subscribers and sports fans worldwide logged in, not just for punches, but for the viral spectacle of a YouTube celebrity turned prize fighter colliding with boxing's most dangerous knockout artist. This wasn't about championship belts or official rankings. It was premium entertainment. History in motion. The weight disparity became the ultimate headline, fueling sports betting, trending highlights, and non-stop debate. Jake Paul, branded the problem child, towered over Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Taller, heavier, longer reach. On paper, it screamed David versus Goliath. Yet here, Goliath wasn't the natural-born boxer. Jake Paul entered boxing as the viral outsider, the pay-per-view disruptor, the YouTube star who shocked critics with highlight reel knockouts. Gervonta "Tank" Davis was the proven champion, the undefeated powerhouse with 24 wins. 23 brutal knockouts, feared across divisions and trending worldwide. Their showdown wasn't about sportsmanship. It was hype versus elite skill, streaming power versus championship pedigree. This fight was engineered by years of call-outs, interviews, and viral trash talk fueling anticipation. The spark, 4 years earlier, when Jake Paul boldly challenged Canelo Alvarez, sparking debate, headlines, and disbelief. Tonight, that viral moment finally exploded in the boxing history. When Gervonta "Tank" Davis fired back at Jake Paul, fans knew the drama had just begun. Davis boldly declared he'd beat the brakes off Jake Paul, a comment that exploded across social media. Jake, never one to back down, immediately flipped the narrative. He trolled Davis's height, turned the call-out into a trending meme, and once again used his massive online presence to transform shade into pure promotion. Critics laughed, calling Jake not a real boxer, the same dismissive line that's followed him since his YouTube days. But instead of folding, Paul weaponized the hate. Every insult became marketing fuel. The more boxing purists tried shutting him out, the louder his fan base rallied, generating pay-per-view buzz and viral headlines. Pressure began mounting on Gervonta Davis to actually silence Paul inside the ring. The rivalry skyrocketed after Jake Paul shocked the sports world by defeating Mike Tyson, proving he could headline blockbuster fights. The contrast made the storyline even bigger. Jake Paul, brash, loud, always selling spectacle. Gervonta Davis, quiet, dangerous, speaking only through knockouts. So when Tank promised to put Paul to sleep, fans knew it wasn't hype, it was war. It was more than hype, it was destiny. Every time he entered the ring, lights went out, records broke, and highlight reels went viral. That's why this showdown became breaking news. It wasn't simply boxing, it was two empires colliding. Jake Paul, the most viral disruptor in combat sports, challenged a pound-for-pound legend with millions on the line. One had everything to prove, the other had everything to protect. The weight gap, the controversial trash talk, the Tyson headlines, all fueled an epic storm of drama. By fight night, pay-per-view sales surged, trending worldwide as fans held their breath. This wasn't entertainment, it was a $1 million gamble, a shocking clash that redefined boxing. Jake Paul's outrageous rise became the most talked about story in sports. We're talking about an internet celebrity who began his career chasing viral views on YouTube, creating outrageous prank content for engagement, and somehow transitioned into pay-per-view main events with one of the most recognizable legends in combat sports, Mike Tyson. And not just entering the ring, but actually securing a shocking victory. Now, was Tyson 58 years old at that moment? Yes. Did he look like the prime Iron Mike, who generated millions in knockout highlights and multi-million-dollar fight purses? Of course not. Still, defeating Tyson, even a late career version, gave Jake Paul marketing leverage, brand sponsorships, and lucrative streaming deals. He transformed what looked like a gimmick into what he called the most profitable, defining win of his career. Critics, however, labeled the spectacle controversial. They claimed the Tyson fight was a setup, arguing the legend appeared exhausted, outdated, and unfit to box a younger social media powerhouse. Eddie Hearn didn't hold back, calling the entire spectacle an insult. Yet controversy fuels clicks, and this fight generated massive engagement. Fans argued non-stop, and Jake Paul capitalized brilliantly. He framed the victory not as Tyson's age showing, but as conquering a legend, dominating pay-per-view headlines, and building his brand in combat sports. The buzz was undeniable, with Colby Covington blasting Jake as soft, unskilled, and unworthy of real boxing credibility. Clarissa Shields, an elite champion with global recognition, ridiculed his hustle, dismissing it as marketing chaos. Meanwhile, Francis Ngannou, the powerhouse crossover star, playfully threatened to humble Paul, sparking even more viral conversation across YouTube, social media, and streaming platforms worldwide. Andre Ward, the undefeated legend, called out Jake Paul, saying, "Face a real contender if you want respect." Instantly, the boxing world exploded with debates, predictions, and viral commentary. Critics expected Jake to crumble, but instead he turned backlash into business. Every insult became content. Every headline boosted his brand. What looked like mockery turned into millions of impressions, skyrocketing pay-per-view revenue, ad rates, and global streaming buzz. Suddenly, Jake Paul wasn't just a YouTube celebrity chasing clout. He was a disruptive force boxing promoters couldn't ignore. Love him or hate him, he generated record-breaking engagement, sponsorship deals, and revenue streams. But across the ring stood a proven superstar, Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Unlike Jake, Tank didn't rely on marketing stunts, clickbait titles, or influencer tricks. His reputation was built on pure skill, knockout power, and championship dominance, the silence before boxing's next billion-dollar storm. The fighter whose punches spoke louder than words. Before clashing with Paul, Tank's boxing record was flawless: 24 victories, 0 defeats, and 23 devastating knockouts. That's not just winning, that's pure destruction. Almost every opponent who entered the ring against him got demolished, leaving fans searching Tank knockout highlights and PPV replays. He didn't chase points, he ended careers early. Raised in Baltimore's rough streets, boxing was more than sport, it was survival. When Tank turned professional, his hunger electrified live events, streaming platforms, and sports betting markets. What truly amplified his legacy was how Atlanta embraced him as their adopted boxing superstar. The city welcomed him as family, and Gervonta "Tank" Davis delivered premium highlights night after night, transforming knockouts into viral sports content that fueled massive media revenue. What made him magnetic wasn't just his undefeated record, it was the precision. Tank didn't waste energy with meaningless jabs. He was strategic, calculating every movement like a high-stakes investor, then detonating with one explosive punch that generated pay-per-view demand, affiliate clicks, and digital engagement. At 135 pounds, that type of knockout power wasn't just impressive, it was terrifying for both opponents and betting markets. Fans tuned in not only for boxing highlights, but for financial stakes, streaming numbers, and sponsorship buzz. That's why heading into this matchup, most of the boxing industry believed Jake Paul had finally stepped into a lucrative, yet dangerous trap. Tank wasn't some aging MMA veteran or a retired legend chasing paydays. He was in his absolute prime, undefeated, vicious, and carrying a knockout ratio above 95%. Those statistics speak for themselves, and that's exactly why so many predicted Jake Paul's rise would be crushed in violent fashion. No YouTube subscribers, no viral streams, no sponsorship deals, and no weight advantage could protect him once Tank's power connected. This was billed as the fight to humble Paul, a reality check that reminded the global audience that boxing remains a sport driven by skill, accuracy, endurance, and real talent, not marketing campaigns or influencer hype. The contrast was staggering. Jake Paul, the flashy entertainer, built his empire with viral promotion, pay-per-view spectacles, and social media domination. Gervonta "Tank" Davis, the silent executioner, earned respect through pure destruction, technical brilliance, and championship-level precision. One man sold fights like blockbuster movies, the other ended them with cold efficiency. When two worlds like that collide inside the ring, you don't just witness a boxing match, you experience a mega event, a spectacle impossible for sports fans worldwide to ignore. This clash wasn't just another fight, it was a global event built for pay-per-view history. It wasn't hype versus skill or size versus speed, but everything that drives combat sports debates rolled into one mega showdown. Legacy versus clout, tradition versus disruption, respect versus chaos. By the time the Miami lights hit on fight night, Nobody cared about weight classes or Twitter debates. What mattered was one explosive question. Could Jake Paul survive the destructive knockout power of Gervonta "Tank" Davis? Or would Tank do what he has done to nearly every opponent? End the show with a highlight reel finish and viral knockout clip that trends across YouTube, TikTok, and ESPN? The stakes were sky high, with sportsbooks buzzing, streaming deals spiking, and fans refreshing live odds every round. Fight Week turned Miami into a money-making carnival, with Netflix promos pushing this showdown like a blockbuster, merging sports, entertainment, and viral marketing chaos. Billboards dominated every skyline. Digital countdown clocks flashed across massive arenas, and news outlets turned the spectacle into a pay-per-view goldmine. Every press event became viral content. Jake Paul thrived as the headline-making villain, clowning Tank's height, squatting mockingly, grinning for cameras. Tank refused to flinch, glaring back with stone-cold precision, promising knockout destruction in one chilling line: "I'll put you in a body bag." The crowd erupted. Sportsbooks lit up, and fight analysts went wild. Each stare-down felt nuclear, nose-to-chest intensity magnified by the pay-per-view spotlight. Jake fed the algorithms with non-stop trash talk, influencer theatrics, and viral antics. Tank barely spoke, but his lethal words cut deep. The build-up streamed everywhere. Boxing fans, gamblers, and media couldn't look away. That's undeniable progress you simply can't overlook. But here's the million-dollar question. What about Tank? Did he jeopardize his entire legacy by agreeing to trade punches with Jake Paul? In every sports book, betting forum, and boxing podcast, that's the debate generating massive pay-per-view buzz. If Tank had blasted Jake out in 2 quick rounds, fans would have called it predictable and moved on. Instead, Jake soaked up vicious power shots, dragged the fight into the later rounds, and suddenly, Tank's aura of being unstoppable cracked. Did he officially win on the scorecards? Yes. Did he dominate like a 95% knockout artist? Not convincingly. That uncertainty fuels online traffic, driving viral highlights, heated reactions, and endless social media coverage. Hardcore purists dismissed it as a circus act, a sideshow diluting premium boxing. Meanwhile, casual fans streamed every second, praising the spectacle. Knockdowns, blood, controversy, chaos, pure drama. This fight blurred tradition with entertainment, making it a high-value digital event. The sport has always lived in that delicate balance between performance and pure entertainment. This fight forced everyone to confront that divide head-on. Yet the biggest winner wasn't in the ring, it was Netflix. Their bold move into live combat sports wasn't just a test, it was a statement. The platform delivered a seamless global stream that attracted millions, generated massive engagement, and dominated every social media feed for days. This wasn't merely another boxing event, it was a business transformation. Traditional pay-per-view economics are collapsing, and Netflix showcased a scalable model built on digital reach, recurring subscriptions, and audience monetization. For promoters, that shift is both disruptive and lucrative. For Jake Paul, it brought a level of credibility and brand equity critics never imagined. For Gervonta Davis, it etched another chapter into his legacy portfolio, fueling debates for years. And for boxing as a whole, it represents a strategic crossroads, true evolution or branded spectacle. Opinions differ, but one fact remains. Audiences and advertisers will never view the sport the same again. On November 14th in Miami, boxing didn't just stage another event. It delivered a billion-dollar marketing spectacle. This wasn't merely a fight. It was a live-streamed cultural investment that advertisers, sponsors, and digital media executives dream about. The burning question now isn't who won, but what's next in this high-revenue ecosystem. Jake Paul isn't walking away quietly. His brand thrives on viral disruption, influencer engagement, and premium sponsorship deals. Meanwhile, Logan Paul entered the conversation the moment Mike Tyson dropped his post-fight statement. "Logan, you're next." Instantly, global media, social platforms, and streaming networks lit up. Imagine the financial upside. Logan Paul versus Mike Tyson as a Netflix or Amazon Prime exclusive, while Jake angles for Canelo in a pay-per-view blockbuster. That's not ordinary boxing. That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe of combat sports monetized through advertising, luxury partnerships, and digital subscriptions. Logan was ringside, amplifying Jake's narrative like a brand strategist. If Tyson truly wants it, that's a billion-stream sequel ready to dominate Wall Street headlines. And don't overlook the looming MMA crossover, a lucrative hybrid market waiting for activation. Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight wrecking ball known for punching harder than a speeding Ford Escort, has already taken aim at Jake Paul. Ngannou laughed off the Tyson fight, calling it a robbery, and even joked he'd happily smack Jake around 2 or 3 times if they ever meet in the ring. Then you have Colby Covington, the notorious UFC star, who's been itching to drag Jake into a brutal, high-volume cardio war that would test his heart more than his hype. The MMA world clearly wants its payday, and Jake Paul has built an empire by saying yes to every challenge the critics swore he couldn't handle. But the real question hovers around Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Does he run it back? Or was this wild crossover a one-time spectacle never to be repeated? Tank's pride might demand revenge. After all, his aura of invincibility cracked the moment Jake survived. Yet his team could easily say, forget Jake, focus on real belts, real legacy, real money fights. The truth, no matter what comes next, this clash has already shifted the boxing business forever, and fans can't stop watching. The showdown between Paul and Davis was far more than a novelty fight or quick payday. It became a viral cultural event that shook both sports and entertainment. Netflix revealed record-breaking streaming engagement, pulling in millions of viewers across every market, from seasoned boxing fans to casual audiences who hadn't tuned in since Tyson versus Holyfield. The demand was undeniable. Social media went into overdrive. Hashtags dominated trending charts, memes exploded, and viral clips racked up billions of impressions. Celebrities, influencers, and even brands with no boxing knowledge suddenly became analysts, driving more clicks, conversations, and monetization. This wasn't just a bout, it was a global marketing machine. For many, it reinvigorated boxing, pulling fresh demographics, driving ad revenue, and proving combat sports still capture massive attention. For critics, it blurred authenticity, transforming boxing into a spectacle where entertainment outweighed legitimacy. Both arguments matter, yet that's exactly why the fight delivered unmatched intrigue. It proved boxing can still dominate culture, commerce, and streaming relevance simultaneously. Casual fans will argue this was the most entertaining spectacle they've ever witnessed. 2 fighters trading brutal shots, pure chaos, and undeniable drama. And let's be honest, Netflix doesn't care who you rooted for. What matters is that millions tuned in, driving massive engagement and record-breaking retention. But now comes the real debate. Did Jake Paul just rewrite boxing history, or did he shatter the sport's credibility forever? Was this the night he proved he's more than a viral gimmick, or the moment boxing exposed how far it will chase clicks, revenue, and viral headlines? Maybe it's both. Maybe this was boxing's Rubicon moment, the point of no return. The industry can no longer dismiss Jake Paul as a sideshow because, love him or hate him, he's the biggest disruptor combat sports has seen in decades. He dominates viewership, generates huge ad revenue, and forces every promoter to adapt. So yes, maybe you hated it. Maybe you loved every insane second. But November 14th in Miami wasn't just a fight. It was the night boxing transformed forever. And now, the only question isn't if Jake fights again, it's who dares to step in next.